I still remember the night it all fell apart, not because of a heated argument or some dramatic revelation, but because of a gift. It was a Wednesday evening, one of those quiet, unremarkable nights when life feels like it is just moving forward as usual. I had come home a little earlier than usual, hoping to surprise Moren, my wife of 11 years, with her favorite takeout. She always said she loved small surprises, that they were the secret to keeping love alive. But that night she had a surprise of her own. I walked through the door, balancing the food in one hand while shrugging off my coat, and there she was, standing in the living room, a neatly wrapped box in her hands tied with a golden ribbon. Her smile was almost nervous, like she was bracing for something. "I have something for you," she said, her voice soft, controlled. I frowned but took the box. "What is the occasion?" She shook her head, her blonde hair bouncing slightly. "Just open it." I sat down on the couch, my heartbeat picking up speed. I was not sure why. I had no reason to suspect anything, but something about her energy felt off. I slid the ribbon loose, lifted the lid, and felt my stomach tighten the moment I saw what was inside. Divorce papers. At first, my brain could not register it. Maybe it was a joke, some weird prank she had planned to make me panic before laughing it off. But when I looked up at her, she was not laughing. Her arms were crossed, her expression unreadable. "There is more," she said, nodding toward the box. I reached inside and pulled out a small envelope. My hands felt foreign to me, almost like they belonged to someone else. I slid my finger under the flap, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and read the first few lines. It was a plane ticket, one way. My chest tightened. "Moren, what is this?" She exhaled, slow and measured, as if she had rehearsed this conversation 100 times. "I am leaving Barton tonight." My mouth felt dry. "Leaving where?" She looked me straight in the eye, and then in the most casual, matter-of-fact voice I had ever heard her use, she said, "To be with Tobias." I blinked. My brain could not keep up. Who the hell is Tobias? The silence that followed was unbearable. She looked down at her hands, and when she finally spoke, her voice was almost bored. "You do not know him, but I have been seeing him for about a year. I tried to fight it, but I am in love with him." The room tilted, the walls felt too close. I heard my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "A year." My voice came out hoarse. "You have been." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "You have been cheating on me for a year." She sighed, as if this conversation was exhausting for her. "I wanted to tell you sooner, Barton, but I knew how you would react. You try to fix things, and honestly, I do not want to fix this. I want to move on." I could not speak. My mind flashed back to a year's worth of memories. Every late-night text she claimed was from a friend, every sudden work event, every moment she had looked me in the eyes and lied straight to my face. And then, as if to drive the final nail into my heart, she said something that made my stomach turn. "I hope we can stay friends." Friends? Friends. I stared at her, my hands clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. That was the moment I realized something. She had made her decision. She had prepared for this moment, planned it carefully, packed her bags, and printed a damn plane ticket. This was not a mistake, a lapse in judgment. This was who she was now, and I was nothing more than a footnote in her story. I could have begged. I could have screamed. I could have asked why 100 times. Instead, I did something I never thought I would do. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. "If you are leaving," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "then go." Her eyes flickered, just for a second. Maybe she had expected a different reaction. Maybe in some twisted way she wanted me to fight for her, to plead, to tell her not to go. But I did not. She hesitated for only a moment, then picked up her bag and walked past me. No final words, no lingering glances, just the sound of her footsteps fading into the night. And just like that, the woman I had built a life with was gone. That was the last time I saw Moren as my wife, or at least that is what I thought at the time. But this story was far from over, because sometimes walking away is the easy part. It is what comes after that truly breaks you. The moment Moren walked out that door, time did not just slow down. It completely shattered. I stood there, gripping the door handle, listening to her footsteps fade into the night, waiting for the sound of her car pulling away. It never came. Instead, she walked down the street, her silhouette dissolving into the dim glow of the streetlights, just another figure disappearing into the distance. I did not chase after her. I did not even close the door right away. I just stood there, staring into the emptiness she had left behind. My whole body felt numb, like I had just walked out of surgery, except no one had given me anesthesia. It was pure, raw exposure to pain, a wound torn open without any warning. I do not know how long I stood there before I finally stepped back inside, closing the door behind me with a dull click. The house was too quiet. It was strange how silence could feel so heavy, so suffocating. Just hours ago, this place had felt warm, familiar, a home. Now it was nothing more than walls and furniture, a hollow shell of a life I had thought was unshakable. My eyes drifted to the coffee table, where I had left the takeout. I had brought home for her favorite chicken pad thai from that small Thai place down the street, the one we used to go to every Friday when we were first married. The smell still lingered in the air, but now it was just an insult, a cruel joke. I picked up one of the containers, felt the warmth of it in my hands, and then, before I even realized what I was doing, I threw it across the room. The container hit the wall with a dull smack, noodles and sauce splattering onto the floor. And for a brief moment, I thought maybe I would feel something. Maybe the anger would be a relief. Maybe breaking something would drown out the crushing emptiness in my chest. It did not. I sank onto the couch, elbows on my knees, staring at my hands like they belonged to someone else. My wedding ring was still there, glinting under the dim light. I should take it off, I thought, but I did not. Could not yet. A notification buzzed on my phone, breaking the silence. I pulled it out of my pocket, half expecting a message from Moren, some kind of explanation, a second thought, something. But it was not her. It was a message from my bank, a withdrawal, a large one. My stomach twisted. I opened my banking app, and as the numbers loaded on the screen, my breath caught in my throat. She had taken money, a lot of it, thousands gone. I scrolled through the transactions, my hand shaking, my pulse pounding in my ears. She had drained one of our savings accounts, not all of it, just enough to leave me in a financial hole, but not enough to look like outright theft. Had she planned this too? I thought back to the divorce papers in that damn box, the plane ticket. Of course she had planned this. She had been laying the groundwork for months, possibly longer, and I had been too blind to see it, too trusting, too convinced that what we had was real, that she loved me. I clenched my phone so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My first instinct was to call her, demand answers, scream, rage. But I did not. What would it change? She had already decided. She had made her choice long before tonight. I do not know how long I sat there, my mind racing in circles, before exhaustion finally hit me like a freight train. I dragged myself upstairs, stepping into a bedroom that suddenly felt foreign. Her side of the closet was half empty. Some of her clothes were gone, but not all of them. A few dresses still hung on their hangers. A pair of her shoes were still by the door. She had not taken everything. Was that intentional? Did she leave them behind to soften the blow? Or did she just not care enough to finish the job? I fell onto the bed, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. My thoughts kept looping back to the same question. Why was I not enough? I did not sleep that night, not really. I drifted in and out, caught between exhaustion and the suffocating weight of reality. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, heard her voice. I want to move on. I hope we can stay friends. Friends. I laughed a hollow, bitter sound that barely made it past my lips. Was she serious? Did she really expect me to just accept this, shake her lover's hand, and wish them well? Morning came too soon. The sun rose, spilling light through the blinds, indifferent to the destruction of my life. I rolled out of bed, my body aching, my mind still foggy from the lack of sleep, and then my phone buzzed again. I picked it up, expecting another bank notification, but this time it was a message from Moren. 2 words. I am sorry. That was it. No explanation, no details, just those two words, like they were supposed to fix anything. I stared at the message, feeling a slow burn rise in my chest. She was not sorry. If she was, she would not have done this. If she was, she would not have taken my money and walked out of my life like I was a temporary chapter in her story. I took a deep breath, fingers hovering over the screen. I could respond. I could ask all the questions that were screaming in my head. I could demand to know how long she had been lying to me, why she had done this, if Tobias was really worth it. But instead, I did something I never thought I would do. I deleted the message. And for the first time since she left, I realized something. I was not the one who lost everything. She was, and she did not even know it yet. The moment I deleted Moren's message, something inside me shifted. It was not relief. It was not even anger. It was just emptiness. A deep, hollow space where all my emotions used to be. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at the blank screen like it could somehow give me answers. But there were none, only silence. I forced myself to move, to do something, anything to pull myself out of this trance. The house felt like a ghost town. Every room a painful reminder of what had been stolen from me. Our wedding photo still sat on the mantel, mocking me with its frozen moment of happiness. My stomach twisted as I looked at it, as if I were staring at a stranger's life instead of my own. I grabbed the frame and shoved it into a drawer, out of sight, out of mind, or at least that is what I told myself. I needed air. I threw on a jacket and stepped outside. The morning was crisp, the sun rising lazily over the neighborhood. Everything looked normal. A woman jogged past with her dog, waving as she always did. Kids rode their bikes down the street, laughing. Somewhere, someone was mowing their lawn. The world had not stopped just because mine had. I started walking, my feet moving on autopilot. I was not sure where I was going until I found myself standing outside Warren's house. He was my closest friend, the one person I knew would tell me the truth, whether I wanted to hear it or not. I knocked twice before stepping back, shoving my hands into my pockets. The door swung open, and there he was, messy hair, a coffee mug in hand, still in his pajamas. He frowned when he saw me. "Barton, you look like hell." I let out a dry laugh. "Feel like it too." He stepped aside, letting me in. The house smelled like fresh coffee and bacon, and for a second, I felt like I had stepped into an alternate reality, a place where marriages did not fall apart overnight. "Tell me everything," he said, sliding a cup of coffee across the table toward me. So I did. I told him about the divorce papers, the plane ticket, Tobias, the money she took, every detail, every moment. He listened, his expression unreadable, occasionally shaking his head like he could not believe what he was hearing. When I finished, he leaned back, rubbing his face. "Jesus, Barton." I let out a breath, rubbing my temples. "Yeah. She planned this," he said flatly. "Every part of it. She knew exactly what she was doing." I nodded. "I know. What are you going to do?" I shook my head. "I have no idea. She left, took what she wanted. What else is there?" Warren was quiet for a moment, then leaned forward. "Do you want the truth?" I looked at him. "Always. She is going to regret this." I scoffed. "Doubt it." "No, listen to me," he said, his voice firm. "Women like Moren, they think they are moving on to something better, but it never works out the way they imagine. She is running on fantasy right now, but reality, that is going to hit her like a brick wall." I stared at him, his words sinking in. Could he be right? Could she really regret this? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Another message, but not from Moren. It was from a number I did not recognize. "You do not know me, but you need to hear this. Call me. It is about Moren." I read it twice, my pulse picking up speed. Warren leaned over, reading it over my shoulder. "What the hell?" I hesitated for half a second before hitting the call button. The line rang twice before a man's voice answered. "Barton." "Yes." "Who is this?" Pause, then. "My name is Glenn. I know your wife and I know about Tobias." My grip on the phone tightened. "What are you talking about?" Another pause, then a slow exhale. "Moren lied to you. She has been lying about everything." A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? Glenn hesitated, as if choosing his next words carefully. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. Tobias is not who she says he is, and if you think she is done hurting you, you are wrong. My stomach twisted. I glanced at Moren, who was watching me with narrowed eyes. I swallowed hard. Tell me everything. And just like that, everything I thought I knew was about to be shattered all over again. Glenn's voice was steady, but there was something underneath it, something sharp, urgent. I did not know this man, but the way he spoke, the way he held on to each word before releasing it, made my stomach twist. This was not some prank or a wrong number. He knew something, and whatever it was about to change everything I thought I understood. I tightened my grip on the phone, my knuckles whitening. What do you mean she is lying? Who the hell are you? A sigh crackled through the line. He hesitated, then exhaled. I was Tobias's friend. Was. Not anymore, not after what I found out. I exchanged a glance with Moren, who was now sitting forward, watching me like I was defusing a bomb. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Go on. Listen, Glenn said. Tobias is not just some guy she fell for. He has been doing this for years. Finding women like Moren, promising them everything, making them believe he is their fresh start. A pause, and then he drains them dry. I frowned. What do you mean? He is a scammer, Barton. Glenn's voice was grim. Not just a con artist, but a manipulator. He picks women in marriages that are strained but not broken. He makes them believe they are unhappy. Then he feeds them a dream. Romance, escape, a better life. But once they leave their husbands for him, he scoffed. He takes everything. Not just their money, their credit, their assets. He runs up their debt, drains their accounts, and when there is nothing left, he disappears, just like that. I felt my stomach drop. My grip on the phone tightened. You are telling me Moren left me for a scammer? Yes. His voice was firm. And she does not even know it yet. I swallowed hard, my mind racing through every interaction, every moment that suddenly took on a new, sinister light. Moren had seemed so certain about Tobias, so sure that leaving me was the right choice. But if Glenn was telling the truth, she was not running toward a fairy tale. She was walking straight into a nightmare. My breath came shallow. How do you know all this? Because I have seen it before, Glenn said. Tobias did the same thing to my sister. A silence stretched between us. She thought she was leaving her dead-end marriage for something better, he continued. A year later, she was bankrupt, homeless, and he was gone. His voice wavered just slightly. She took her own life, Barton. She could not handle the shame, the loss. And Tobias, he just moved on to the next woman like she never existed. The weight of his words settled deep in my chest. This was not just some cautionary tale. This was real, and Moren was next. I felt my jaw clench. So why are you telling me this? A bitter laugh. Because I do not want to see it happen again. And because she will not believe me if I tell her. I ended the call and set my phone down, rubbing my temples. Moren let out a low whistle. That is a hell of a twist. I scoffed. No kidding. So what is the plan? He leaned forward. Are you going to tell her? I let out a breath. She will not listen. Moren smirked. Well, maybe not to you. I narrowed my eyes. What does that mean? His smirk widened. It means, Barton, that if she will not believe you, maybe we need to find someone she will believe. And just like that, an idea began to form. I was not going to beg Moren to come back. I was not going to try to win her back from Tobias. But I was going to make damn sure that when reality came crashing down, she knew exactly what she had thrown away. And this time, I was not going to be the one left broken. The weight of Glenn's words settled into my chest like a stone. Tobias was a fraud, a manipulator, a parasite feeding on women like Moren, women who were looking for something more, something they thought they were missing. And just like that, I saw my wife not as the woman who had betrayed me, not as the one who had torn my life apart, but as someone walking straight toward disaster without even realizing it. And the worst part, there was no way in hell she would believe me if I told her. I could already hear her response. You are just bitter, Barton. You are jealous. You cannot stand that I have moved on. No, if I wanted to get through to her, I had to be smarter than this. That. Warren tapped his fingers against the table, watching me. All right, he said. You know she is in trouble. You know she will not listen to you. So what is the play? I let out a slow breath, my mind racing. We need proof. He raised an eyebrow. Of what? That Tobias is a scumbag? That will not be enough. Even if we get a picture of him robbing a bank, Moren will still find a way to convince herself he is the victim. I gritted my teeth, because he was right. She was not thinking rationally. She was thinking like someone who had already invested in a dream, and people will do anything to protect a dream, even if it is crumbling right in front of them. I needed something she could not ignore, something so undeniable that it shattered the illusion before it was too late. I picked up my phone again and dialed Glenn. He answered on the second ring. That was fast, he said. I need everything you have on Tobias, I told him. Everything. A pause, then a knowing chuckle. You are planning something. Just send it to me. Another pause. Then he said, Give me an hour. I hung up and ran a hand through my hair. Warren watched me with an amused glint in his eyes. You are enjoying this. I am pissed, I corrected. He smirked. Same thing. Maybe it was. Maybe a small part of me was enjoying the idea of watching Moren's little fantasy world burn to the ground. But more than that, I just did not want to be the idiot left behind, the guy everyone pitied because his wife had traded him in for a liar. No, if she was going to crash, she was damn well going to see what she had done before she hit the ground, and I was going to be the one holding up the mirror. The information dropped an hour later. Glenn came through. My email pinged with a flood of files. I opened the first one and immediately my stomach turned. Tobias had been married before 3 times. Each woman followed the same pattern. Happy social media posts, glowing praise about their wonderful new love, and then radio silence. Financial records showed massive debt piled up, accounts drained, houses sold. And Tobias, he disappeared every single time. One woman had even gone to the police, but the case had gone nowhere. Tobias knew how to cover his tracks, how to operate just inside the lines of legality. He was not just a con man, he was an artist at it. And now he had Moren. I scrolled through the files, my pulse tightening. There were messages, conversations Tobias had had with other women while he was with Moren. He was already lining up his next target. My blood ran cold. She had no idea. Warren whistled lowly. Wow, she really picked a winner. I clenched my jaw. She is not seeing this because she does not want to see it. Then let us make sure she has to. The plan. We spent the next few hours setting everything up. The information needed to be presented in a way that was not coming from me. If I showed her, she would assume I had fabricated it, twisted the facts to make her doubt Tobias. No, I needed to get to her through someone else. So I reached out to someone she did trust, her sister, Eliza. Eliza and I had never been particularly close, but she had always been the more level-headed one in the family. And she was not an idiot. She had never liked Tobias. When Moren first started seeing him, Eliza had told her to slow down, to think. But Moren had not listened. Called her. She answered on the second ring. Barton. Her voice was cautious. I need your help. Silence, then. With what? I took a deep breath and explained everything. Tobias's history, the women before Moren, the financial ruin he left in his wake. I told her about Glenn, about the messages, about how Tobias was already working on finding someone new while still stringing Moren along. When I finished, there was nothing but silence. Eliza! Then she let out a slow, furious breath. That bastard! I exhaled. So you believe me? I knew something was off about him, she muttered. I told her, but she would not listen. She still will not, I said. Not for me. But she might from you. Eliza was silent for a long time. Then she said, Send me everything. The breaking point. I sent her the files and then I waited. Hours passed with no response. Then a day. Then 2. I started to think maybe I had miscalculated, that maybe even Eliza could not get through to her. Maybe Moren was too far gone. Then, on the third day, my phone rang. It was Eliza, and she was furious. "She will not admit it," she snapped. "But she is shaken. I showed her everything, Bart. I laid it all out. At first she called me a liar. Then she tried to say it was all in the past. But I could see it. She is scared. She is starting to doubt him." A cold satisfaction settled in my chest. She was not fully there yet, but the cracks were forming. "She is not leaving him yet," Eliza continued. "But she is asking questions. And Tobias?" She let out a sharp laugh. "He is getting nervous. He knows something is up." I clenched my jaw. Good. But this was not over, not yet. Moren still had a choice to make, and I had a feeling she was about to realize she had made the wrong one. I did not expect Moren to change overnight. No one wakes up one day and admits they have made the worst mistake of their life. Not when they have spent months convincing themselves they were right. But doubt, that was different. Doubt was like a small fracture in a windshield. It starts barely noticeable. A thin crack that seems harmless. But with enough pressure, it spreads, splinters, grows until the whole thing shatters. And now that crack had formed. Eliza's message was proof of that. "She is shaken," she had said. "I do not think she is sleeping. She has been asking Tobias about his past. And he is getting defensive." Good. Because now it was only a matter of time. I kept my distance over the next few days. No calls, no texts, no reaching out. If Moren was going to realize the truth, she had to come to it herself. If I pushed, she would dig in deeper. But if I let her sit with the doubt, let it fester in the back of her mind, Tobias would do the rest of the work for me. And sure enough, he did. 3 days after my conversation with Eliza, I got another call, but this time it was not from her. It was from Moren. I stared at the screen as her name flashed across it. For a split second, I considered ignoring it, letting her feel the silence she had left behind. But curiosity won out. I hit accept. Her voice came through the line, quiet, almost hesitant. "Barton." I did not say anything at first, just the silent stretch, waiting for her to talk. She sighed. I do not know why I called." I kept my voice even. "Then why did you?" A pause, then, "Do you believe people can change?" That threw me. I frowned. "What?" She exhaled, and I could hear the strain in her voice. "I know you do not owe me anything, but Tobias is not the man you think he is." A cold, sharp laugh left my lips before I could stop it. "You mean the man with 3 ex-wives? The one who drains women's bank accounts and disappears? That is not Tobias." She inhaled sharply. "That is not who he is now. People have a past, Barton. You of all people should know that." I clenched my jaw. "And did he tell you that? That he has changed?" She hesitated. "Yes, of course he did." I shook my head. "Moren, let me ask you something. If none of this was true, if he really was a good guy, why did he get so defensive when you started asking questions?" Silence. "You did ask him, did not you?" More silence. I sighed. "Look, I am not going to sit here and try to convince you. You already know something is not right. That is why you called." "I do not know what I think," she muttered. That was a lie. She did know. She just was not ready to admit it yet. But I was not going to fight her on it. "All right," I said simply. "Let me know when you figure it out." And then I hung up. She had made her choice when she walked out that door. But now for the first time she was starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, she had been wrong. The beginning of the end. The next few days passed without another word from Moren. But that did not mean nothing was happening. Eliza kept me updated. "She is spiraling," she told me over the phone. "She has been watching him now, not just believing everything he says. She saw him take a call last night and walk out of the room. Would not tell her who it was." I leaned against my desk, staring out the window. She is catching on. She is trying to, but he has still got his hooks in her. I ran a hand through my hair. It will not last, not if she is questioning him. Eliza hesitated. "I do not think it is going to be that easy." "What do you mean?" She sighed. "She told me she does not want to come back to you just to say she failed. She is more afraid of looking stupid than she is of actually getting hurt. That hit like a punch to the gut because I understood it. Pride. Pride would keep her standing in a burning house just to prove to everyone she meant to be there. And Tobias, he knew that. He was counting on it. But pride could not protect her forever, and I had a feeling that soon it would not be me she would be calling. It would be him. Because when people like Tobias realize they are losing control, they do not just walk away. They hold on tighter. And when that happened, Moren was going to have to decide just how far she was willing to fall. I did not hear from Moren for days after that call, and honestly, I was fine with it. I had wasted enough time, enough energy trying to piece together the wreckage of something she had burned to the ground. She had made her decision. Now she was the one who had to live with it. But that did not mean I was not paying attention. Eliza kept me updated, feeding me bits and pieces of what was going on behind the scenes. At first, Moren was still holding on, clinging to the fantasy she had built. But little by little, the cracks were spreading. And then everything changed. It was a Friday night when Eliza called me. I had just poured myself a drink, settling into the quiet of my empty house when my phone buzzed. I considered ignoring it until I saw her name. I answered on the second ring. "What is up?" Her voice was low, urgent. "It is happening." I sat up. "What is happening?" She let out a breath. Tobias slipped up. My grip tightened around the phone. "Tell me everything." I could hear noise in the background, a low hum of conversation, music playing somewhere distant. Then Eliza spoke, her words fast and sharp. "They are at a party, some fancy event he dragged her to. And Barton, he is not even pretending to be subtle anymore." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she said, "he has already moved on." Right in front of her. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. I had known it was coming. It was only a matter of time before Tobias got bored, before he started sniffing around for his next victim. But hearing it, knowing Moren was standing there watching it happen in real time, was something else entirely. I did not feel satisfaction. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt tired. "Eliza," I said, rubbing my temple. "What does she expect me to do about it?" "She is not calling you." "She is not calling you," she admitted. "Not yet. But she will. I know she will." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "What do you want me to say if she does?" Silence. Then softer. "What do you want to say?" I did not answer because I honestly did not know. The fallout. Hours passed, but I barely moved. I just sat there, my drink untouched, my mind caught in an endless loop. I thought about all the times I had tried to warn her, how she had looked at me like I was the problem, like I was the one trying to trap her instead of the man standing beside her now, already preparing to discard her like she meant nothing. I thought about the life we had built together, the years we had spent growing, the quiet moments that no one else had seen, and how in the end, none of it had mattered to her. Then, just past midnight, my phone rang again. I did not need to look at the screen to know who it was. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Moren's voice was shaky, barely above a whisper. "Barton." I closed my eyes. "Yeah." A beat of silence. Then, "I think I made a mistake." I laughed, a real, genuine laugh. Not because it was funny, but because I had seen this moment coming from a mile away. "You think?" I repeated. She exhaled sharply. "Do not do that." "Do what?" "Make this harder than it already is." My jaw tightened. "You made it hard, Moren. You did this, not me." She did not respond right away. When she finally did, her voice was thick, uneven. "He was with someone else." "Of course he was," I thought. Her breath hitched. "I thought we were different." I pinched the bridge of my nose, forcing myself to stay calm. "You thought you were special. That is what he wanted you to think." She let out a broken laugh. "You sound just like Eliza. Maybe because she actually cares about you." Silence, and then the words I had been waiting for. "Can I come home?" I let those 4 words hang in the air between us. Could she? Should she? I could already imagine it. The way she would walk back through that door, looking at me with those eyes that used to melt me. the way she would try to fit herself back into the life she had abandoned like nothing had changed. But everything had changed, and I was not the same man she had left behind. I took a slow breath. No, Moren. You cannot. A sharp inhale. Barton. You made your choice. My voice was steady, even, and I made mine. Silence, and then softly. I do not have anywhere to go. Not my problem. I swallowed down the lump in my throat. That is not my problem, Moren. And I hung up. For the first time since she walked out that door, I felt free. I was not the fool left waiting. I was not the backup plan. I was done, and for once I was okay with that. Hanging up that call was the single hardest thing I had ever done. Not because I wanted her back, not because I felt sorry for her, but because for the first time in over a year, I was truly choosing myself. Moren had made her bed. She had convinced herself that her fantasy with Tobias was worth throwing everything away. She had turned me into the villain of her story, painting herself as the brave woman chasing her happiness. And now that illusion was gone. But I was not her safety net. I was not her backup plan. I had been her husband, and she had treated me like an option. That night, after I hung up, I sat in the quiet of my house, letting it all settle, the weight of it, the finality of it. And you know what? Felt good. For the first time in a long time, I was not drowning in what-ifs. I was not clinging to the past, trying to piece together something that had already shattered beyond repair. I was just here, in the present, with a future that for once did not include chasing after someone who did not deserve me. A new beginning. The days that followed were different, lighter. I woke up without that crushing weight on my chest. I went to work and actually focused. I spent time with friends, real friends, people who had been there for me through the worst of it. And then something unexpected happened. I met Sienna. It was not some grand, dramatic moment. There were no fireworks, no cinematic music swelling in the background. It was simple. I was grabbing coffee at a small shop downtown when she bumped into me, spilling half her latte on my shirt. She looked up, horrified, already fumbling for napkins. "Oh my God! I am so sorry," she gasped, dabbing at the stain. "I swear I am not usually this clumsy." I laughed, taking the napkins from her hand. "It is fine. Gives me an excuse to finally get rid of this shirt." She bit her lip, then smirked. "Well, if it makes you feel any better, I will buy you another coffee." And just like that, something shifted. We sat down, talked, laughed, and for the first time in a long, long time, I felt something real. Not forced, not built on old wounds or regret. Just easy. Sienna was not a rebound. She was not a replacement for Moren. She was proof that life moves on, that happiness is not something you have to chase. It is something you build. The last goodbye. I never spoke to Moren again after that last phone call. Eliza told me she struggled for a while. Tobias drained what little she had left before ditching her completely. She tried to rebuild, but it was hard. She had burned too many bridges, cut too many people out, and in the end, she was left with nothing but the realization that she had destroyed her own life. Maybe she learned from it. Maybe she did not. But that was not my concern anymore. I had my own life to live, and for the first time I was really living it.